Well, thank you so much, President McGarvey. It is great to be here with so many friends from the labor movement. I hope you all noticed we had Missouri in the House, my delegation walking in. I'm told it was the biggest, just so you know. You know, I had the honor before I had joined the Biden administration of serving with some of these leaders on the ULICO board, the labor-owned insurance and investment company that's been looking out for American workers and their families for 95 years. It is a remarkable success story. I see y'all down here. It's just the success story of the single-minded focus that the labor movement has had on protecting union members and their families, making sure that the workers who build projects share in the benefit of owning a piece of those projects when they're finished. So it is wonderful to be back with all of you. Now, I suspect after hearing from all of these, important elected leaders, y'all might be thinking, why on earth are we having to listen to the head of the General Services Administration? Well, let me tell you, it turns out we have quite a lot to do with the building trades and supporting working families. You see, GSA owns and manages the largest portfolio of buildings in the country. We've got the largest fleet of vehicles, and along with the Defense Department, we're the largest buyer of power in the country. So think about that. We also buy more than $80 billion worth of goods and services every year on behalf of the United States government. So it really is our job at GSA to help the Biden and Harris administration deliver on the promise to invest in America. Now, we're rebuilding our economy, as the president says, from the bottom up and the middle out. We want to create more good-paying union jobs in the process. But the only way we succeed is by meeting the president's ambition of rebuilding that middle class. We want to leverage our buying power by partnering with folks in this room and the members you represent. It's GSA's role to ensure that government leads by example, that we can show what's possible. Last week I was in Cleveland. I stopped by the IBEW Local 38's Joint Apprenticeship and Training Center. McKinney, I know you know it well. Sean, I think you know it well. I had two young women. They showed me how to install a three-way circuit. Followed all safety rules, don't worry. It worked, it was great. And a few minutes later, a couple of other apprentices showed me how they wired an electric vehicle charging station. And they talked to me about how every apprentice is being trained not just on how to install EV infrastructure, but also how to integrate solar technologies into the grid. And it struck me in just those few moments that I was witnessing, again, how organized labor is leading the way in transforming our country and in transforming our economy. And in the same way unions led the fight for a 40-hour work week and workplace safety standards and a living wage and equity and fairness in the workplace, once again, we are all turning to organized labor at this moment in our nation's history to lead again. That's exactly what's happening at Local 38. It's happening in cities and in locals all around the country. In fact, GSA has already put some journeymen and apprentices from Local 38 to work. We've got a $48 million project renovating space for the Veterans Benefits Administration in downtown Cleveland. And it's just a perfect example of what investing in America looks like. It looks like hardworking men and women delivering on a project for those who've served and sacrificed for our country. And thanks to a project labor agreement, they're getting paid fair wages and the benefits they deserve. And we intend to do more of that. But that's just one example of the type of investments we are making all over the country. And none of this work gets done without a skilled workforce and qualified contractors that we can count on to deliver quality and value for the American taxpayer. So today, what I want to talk about is real contracts and real jobs for all of the building trades represented in this room. Because after all, it is your union brothers and sisters are the ones that are delivering these projects on time and on budget. You're the ones who do the work, everything from restoring century-old historic structures to building high-tech labs that are loaded with cutting-edge innovation. And right now, you're the ones that are ensuring these once-in-a-generation investments that we keep hearing about create more opportunities for all of our people. Now, I know that we can depend on the building trades to be good partners and deliver. Why? Because I've seen your work. I've met your members. I've gone to the job sites. I've seen training centers across the country. I've talked to the pipe fitters in St. Louis. By the way, go 562. I've talked to iron workers in Toledo and laborers and sheet metal workers in Boston and pavers in Arizona, and there are lots more contracting opportunities on the horizon. So just as an example, in New England, our projects alone, we know we need pipe fitters, electricians, HVAC technicians to install energy-efficient heat pumps and boilers at least 10 locations. But these things are happening all over the country. In Texas, New Mexico, Washington State, we're going to need concrete masons and asphalt workers for new roadways and parking lots at 15 border crossings. In Arizona and California, we need electricians and solar panel technicians to install thousands of panels at facilities along the southern border. Now, a lot of those jobs are going to be funded by the bipartisan infrastructure law. So, I don't know, can I see just a quick show of hands? How many folks are from states that border either Canada or Mexico? Okay, y'all pay attention to this, because we have $3.4 billion with a B that we're putting into dozens of border crossing stations to make them more secure and more efficient. We figure that's about 6,000 jobs. We're investing another $3.4 billion from the Inflation Reduction Act in clean construction materials, emerging and sustainable technologies, and other high-performance building upgrades. We figure that's another 9,500 jobs, $2.8 billion in labor income, and we're not stopping there. Because for the first time, President Biden, as part of his budget, called on Congress to give GSA access to the funding we need to maintain and renovate the buildings that already exist. That means even more jobs for workers and communities all across the country. So, bottom line, with nearly $7 billion to invest, GSA, we really are on the front lines of investing in America and working to meet the president's ambitious goals of transitioning our country to a clean energy economy. If you think about that, we've gone thousands of years burning fuel for power, and we're changing that. We're harnessing energy for power, and you all are in the middle of that massive transition. The urgency of this moment, it could not be greater for our security, for our economy, for our future. But I want to be really clear about one thing. As we make these investments, we are laser focused on implementing the President's executive order to expand the use of project labor agreements on federal construction projects. So here's the deal. At GSA, we already have preferences for PLAs on projects over $25 million. But we want to work to expand that even more, because we know that PLAs represent a win-win. They're smart investments for us because they ensure our projects benefit from a well-trained workforce, they deliver high-quality facilities that people expect on time and on budget. And obviously, they're a win for workers to ensure they're getting paid fair wages and benefit from safe and fair working conditions. But we also know we can't stop there. We know that y'all need to have a clearer picture of the work that we have in our pipeline. And that's why we're planning to make it even easier to track those acquisition opportunities and the time frames for those, so you can better understand what we need and who we need for upcoming projects. We know that the more visibility we can give you today about upcoming projects, the better prepared you can be to recruit and train the workforce that we're going to need tomorrow to actually get these jobs done. Now, this is especially important for what we call mega projects, the ones that are over $35 million, and we're working with the Department of Labor very closely on this. For those projects, we want to build out even better forecasting tools and opportunities to engage with all of you, small businesses, as well as community job training centers all across the country. And you should know that while we're doing this, we're going to be evaluating contractor practices as well, especially when it comes to anti-discrimination and equal opportunity. Because we know that building a stronger America starts with investing in the people who actually build it. And the building trades gets that. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I was with President McGarvey and President Schuler at the White House, and we talked about the challenges of labor shortages and how do you begin to fill those gaps, especially when it comes to recruiting and retaining more women, more veterans, more people of color in the building trades. And Sean, I just want to say thanks to you for leading that charge. It's a big deal to look for new ways to make these construction jobs more accessible. I know you're already partnering with the Department of Labor on their Good Jobs initiative. You're rolling out women in construction programs. You're piloting on-site childcare. You're working with the National Urban League to enroll 13,000 new apprentices and put them in good-paying union jobs. That is going to make a big difference. We know that to build the American economy of the future, we have got to have all of our people, all of their talent, and we can't leave anybody behind. And when we invest in America, we mean all of America. That's what President Biden means, and you do too. You know, the president reminds us often, I'm sure you heard it yesterday, that the United States is really made up of possibilities, that nothing is beyond our reach if we remember who we are and if we work together. And so when I look across this room, when I visit job sites, when I go to these training centers, I see an incredibly bright future. And it's a future where organized labor is stepping up again to lead, to shape our country, to create a stronger America, to open the doors of opportunity and possibility for good-paying jobs and pathways to the middle class for millions of families across the country. Thank you for that. Thanks for your tireless commitment. You have been tireless in working to improve the lives of working families. And thank you, too, for being partners at this unique moment in our history. Let's make the most of it. Let's get to work. Thank you.